And welcome to this week's edition of our Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break. I loved that one of the songs that Rachel played was "You Gotta Move On," because we have two women who move constantly to keep our communities moving on. First, Joy Johnson. Joy has served as Executive Director at Burten Carr since August of 2020. She began her career there right out of college, and for almost 20 years, she has been serving and building the community that she calls home. She views herself as the quarterback who executes on the vision of the residents and describes herself as a dot connector, connecting residents, businesses, community stakeholders, and city council. She does it all, from the current call for artists to promote mask wearing, to constructing homes, assisting with tax preparation, fundraising, community meetings. She spends every waking hour building a healthy neighborhood community in the neighborhoods of Burten Carr. She also leads with heart. She was a driver for the creation of a garden and memorial for the 11 women who were murdered in Mount Pleasant, a healing gesture for the community. Denise Van Leer serves as Executive Director of Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. She was an intern there while serving in grad school at Case Western Reserve and was immediately hired as the Community Development Director. She too has been there for 20 years. She is a woman of change. She looks at her community, sees the vacant spots on streets and fills them with houses, elevates the arts treasures in the neighborhood, such as Caramel House and Playwright Park. She appreciates the longevity and stability of so many longtime residents in the neighborhood. She's committed to growing the population and works to attract young families to build population density. So positive change is happening in our city, and in particular in these two neighborhoods. Yes, thanks to the efforts of these tireless women and how they see the Opportunity Corridor integrating to build their continued success in these neighborhoods. So with that, I will turn it over to, I believe, Joy first. Denise first. Denise, very good. Denise, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Glad to see so many people. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a really brief overview of how we've been part of the Opportunity Corridor since before the road began and before the dollars were authorized. There were many, many meetings, many years of meetings. We were also part of the first committee for the Opportunity Corridor. And then after that, for the subcommittees that were created for the corridor. The Fairfax neighborhood was the first neighborhood that the road was constructed in. And we're also the only neighborhood where the majority of the road was built on an existing road, which was East 105th Street. So with that, Rachel, if we can go to the next slide. Okay. So this is a slide of the Fairfax neighborhood, and in the middle of the slide, you can see there's a pin there for 2258 East 105th Street. So East 105th is Opportunity Corridor. The Opportunity Corridor in our neighborhood started from Carnegie all the way down to Quincy, and then at the southern edge of our neighborhood, a new road began. So the majority, like I said, of the roadway was on 105th Street. The top of your slide is Cleveland Clinic, which takes up about 1/3 of our neighborhood. And the rest of this slide is actually the residential heart of the neighborhood. You can see the Juvenile Intervention Center at the bottom of the slide, the right building that looks like a semicircle. You can go to the next. Well, before we go to the next slide, just let me say, we have been master planning since the mid-1990s and update our master plan every 5 years. So it just so happens that we were on this section of the neighborhood during the time that the Opportunity Corridor was being discussed and designed and we were identifying the best uses for the land around the corridor. So on this slide, 105th East, or to the right, we refer to this area as the New Economy neighborhood. And as part of the corridor, every neighborhood got tagged as to what would be the best uses for its land. Ours was eds, meds, and technology. And then to the left of 105th left or west is an area that we refer to as Innovation Square, which is envisioned as a mixed use, mixed income, walkable urban neighborhood. This section of the neighborhood is largely vacant, and we did planning to bring this back. So Rachel, you can go to the next slide now. Okay, so I was talking about the New Economy neighborhood. So this is just a rendering that came out of city planning. City planning did an initiative called Thrive East 105, East 93rd. At the same time that Opportunity Corridor was happening. So there was a lot of planning. And so this slide is just a rendering of what the new economy area could become. You can go to the next slide, Rachel. Okay. So this is our neighborhood master plan. This is the Innovation Square neighborhood plan. This area in the neighborhood goes between Cedar Avenue. So the north side of Cedar Avenue is the beginning of the Cleveland Clinic campus. And then the south side of Cedar Avenue is the residential heart of the Fairfax neighborhood. And so in this slide, you can see from 105th to East 95th is the Innovation Square footprint. Within this footprint, we worked with our partners to decide what should go at the corner of East 105th, excuse me, and Cedar, which is a gateway to the neighborhood. So, you know, we wanted a grocery store. So working with Cleveland Clinic, we worked to attract a grocery store to this area. Many years of working, let me say that. And ultimately, a grocery store did decide to come and locate at this corner, which we're very happy about. The other thing that happened on Cedar Avenue, the other orange box that is dotted, that is smaller, is the Cleveland Clinic's biorepository, which is actually a freezer where they store tissue for research. These images that you see of this store, I can say this now, is actually a Meijer grocery store in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We visited Grand Rapids, the city, FRDC staff, Cleveland Clinic, to just get an idea of how they did the grocery store, what the company's values were, and if they would be a good match for the Fairfax neighborhood. And ultimately, it turned out that they were. And so I'm happy to say that this site today is actually under construction. Rachel, you can go to the next slide. So this is the Fairfax Market that is at the corner of East 105th Street. On the bottom will be the store. So this is a much smaller footprint than the regular Meijer store that you may be used to. It's a neighborhood store, fruits, vegetables, meats, not all of the other things that the Meijer superstores sell. About 40,000 square feet. On top of the grocery store will be 192 units of rental housing. Studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, mostly studios though. for all the folks that come to Cleveland to go to Case or work at the clinic or UH. That's the market that this store is looking at. One of the things that we were very impressed with Meijer is that they were very connected to the neighborhood. So they provided opportunities for the residents to work in the grocery store, and also worked with local businesses to use their products to sell in the grocery store. So we think we have a great partner in Meijer. Very excited to finally see this happen. So Rachel, you can go to the next slide. Just south of the Meijer site, and if you look on the slide, there's another orange box that says Phase 1. This is actually a multi-family apartment building that we are developing with McCormick Baron Salazar out of St. Louis. It is a mixed income building, and it will be just south of the Meijer grocery store site. The city of Cleveland is cutting in 2 new streets off of East 105th Street. So Hudson Avenue and Frank Avenue today do not exist in the footprint. They exist 105th going east, but not going west. So those 2 new streets will be cut in. Also in the Innovation Square footprint, we've partnered with Knez Homes to build 62 market rate single family homes. So that is in this footprint as well. And then at the bottom where you see the shipping container with the public artwork, this is the centerpiece of the Innovation Square area. We refer to it as Playwright Park. This is actually done already. This was the first thing that was completed. It was completed in 2019. So we got a grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, grant from the Cleveland Foundation. Many partners helped. We hired an artist who worked with the neighborhood to get their idea of what the neighborhood meant to them. That artist then translated that into images that everybody went and did like a paint by number on a lot of the, there are 2 of these shipping containers that people, kids, medical students, residents went and painted. This is actually done on parachute cloth, which then was attached to the shipping containers. So this is the centerpiece of the Innovation Square footprint. Yeah. The other thing that happened along East 105th on the east side of the street is that RTA updated its 105th and Quincy RTA Rapid Station. Was a $4 million upgrade. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So this is an image of the 82-unit apartment building that we will develop with McCormick Baron Salazar out of St. Louis. You can go to the next slide. It just gives a better. Okay, and so this image is looking north along East 105th Street, and the street where the cars are parked will be the new Hudson Avenue that the city will cut in. And that is right now what we are doing, what is under development along Opportunity Corridor in the Fairfax neighborhood. In the new economy area, the city of Cleveland owns most of that land. We own some of that land as well. And so we're working together to acquire that land to make sure that, so the idea is that there would be an anchor tenant there, and then there would be other companies that would be a great complement to that anchor tenant. And then that whole area is slated for eds, meds, and technology. And it would be in close proximity to the clinic, to CASE, to UH, and University Circle. And you can go to the next slide. I think this is just another view of that 82-unit apartment building. I will say, because people always ask, and I'll just answer the question before it gets asked, about gentrification. As I said earlier, a lot of this area was vacant. The Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office actually, before any of this started, targeted demolition dollars to this area, to Fairfax on the east side, and to Metro on the west side, to that area, to demolish vacant, abandoned homes that were in 1,000 feet of crime. So they did a lot of the demolition of the vacant buildings that were in the area. With the grocery store, though, there are two longtime Fairfax residents that are being relocated because of the grocery store project. They currently live on East 103rd Street. They're being relocated to East 101st Street. Both of them are, they don't like me to say that they're seniors, but they're over 65. And they will both, they're both getting new ranch homes on East 101st Street. So just wanted to share that. And Rachel, I do think this, yeah, that was the last slide. So thanks.
Denise, thank you so much. So now we'd like to welcome Joy Johnson to share the perspectives from Burten Carr.
Thank you, Rachel. And Denise, thank you for sharing that. I grew up in the Fairfax neighborhood, so I'm super excited to see all that's planned there. I'm getting excited about the grocery store and all of that. I saw someone reference Burten School in the chat, and I am an alum of Burten School, so Fairfax is very near and dear to my heart. And Denise knows lots of my family is still in the Fairfax neighborhood. But good afternoon, I'm Joy Johnson, and I am, as Marianne so eloquently, I don't know who she was talking about, described me. I'm the Executive Director of Burten Carr Development. Excited to talk to you today about Burten Carr's role in the Opportunity Corridor. And before I start, I'll give you a little bit of background on our organization, who we are and what we do. Unlike our neighbors in Fairfax, we are a community development corporation named for people who serve the community: Lonnie Burten, James Bell, and Charles V. Carr. We serve the Buckeye, Central, and Kinsman neighborhoods on the east side of Cleveland, and those are in alphabetical order, not order of preference, because we serve all of our neighborhoods with the same amount of passion and dedication. But you know, every neighborhood is always like, you do more here, you do more there. Constant battle. This picture on the screen is one of our flagship projects. We also use recycled shipping containers to create this project Box Spot, which is on Kinsman Road, just south of the Opportunity Corridor. And it is home to 7 retail businesses, as well as open air space for events. So here is a map of the neighborhood that we serve. Around 35,000 people are in the neighborhood. So the central neighborhood is on the left of your screen. It's the closest to downtown. Kinsman is smack dab in the middle, and the Opportunity Corridor Street runs smack dab in the middle of Kinsman. So it's essentially right in the heart of our service area. And then the Buckeye neighborhood is to the east, going to the city of Cleveland border with the city of Shaker Heights. So our neighborhoods are predominantly African-American, predominantly low income. Some of the lowest incomes in Cleveland. We have a high concentration of public housing, and our organization focused a lot on creating home ownership opportunities. We do see the neighborhood get more diverse, both racially and economically, as you move further east, going towards the Shaker border. So a little bit about our role in the Opportunity Corridor. It was twofold: to focus on land acquisition and community engagement. Burten Carr was hired by the city of Cleveland because of our past experience in land acquisition to perform land acquisition along where we knew the Opportunity Corridor was going to be. Similar to what Denise mentioned, the city and community development partners knew that we had to start planning way before construction because construction was going to be the final step. We wanted to have our plans in place so that when the roadway was done, we'd be ready to roll, ready to get started. So from 2017 to present, Burten Carr has acquired over 9 acres of privately owned land along the corridor. Marianne, we could have an entirely different lunch segment about the art and science of land acquisition. I said we could write soap operas on all of the drama that comes along with land acquisition. If you imagine a house that was owned by Grandma and Grandpa Jones, they may not have had a will. They had 10 children. They passed away, and the house goes to all 10 children equally. You got to find them. You got to track them down. Then they may not be speaking to each other. Somebody might be deceased. Somebody's in jail. Jeff Zagowski, who was formerly on our staff, could tell you tons of stories about land acquisition. And then once we get them to the table, they get dollar signs in their eyes, like on the cartoons, and say, oh, you can buy my property for $1 million. And so it's then our role to say, we'll say no, of course, first, we don't have $1 million to pay you, but to inspire and share the community vision so that they can see how selling their land to us will support the development of that community vision. And so in this case, the community, we worked with the community, I want to say back in 2015, to create a plan for the Opportunity Corridor. And they told us what they needed. And we heard loud and clear that that was jobs. The community said they wanted the Opportunity Corridor to bring jobs, and not just jobs for other people coming from other parts of the city or the country to work here and leave, but entry-level jobs where residents in the area could take advantage and then have an opportunity to build their skills and increase their wealth. They recognized that light manufacturing could be one of those ways to create the jobs, and they wanted to make sure that the light manufacturing would not be intrusive to the surrounding residential areas, as we saw at the turn of the last century. And in that process, they identified the preferred locations for where these job creating developments should be. They also expressed the need for retail. Retail is secondary, but they said if retail could be included, they showed us where they wanted to see that retail happen. And as a result, we came up with, oh, my screen is clicking slowly. There we go. The core job zone is what we call it. So this is a map of what we and the city of Cleveland identified as the core job zone. This light black strip going through the middle is what is now the Opportunity Corridor. And we divided this large area into various segments. And this was how we approached the land acquisition, segment by segment, sector by sector. Just to get you some bearings, north is at the top of the screen. Let's see, this street is East 75th Street. This is Woodland Avenue to the north. This is East 79th Street. Kinsman Road is somewhere in here, but this is the Opportunity Corridor here. So just to give you a sense of place. This is an aerial view of the Opportunity Corridor in the heart of Kinsman today. So on the left of your screen is Orlando Baking Company, which is located at East 75th Street and Grand Avenue, just north of the corridor, which is here. The cross street that you see is East 79th Street. And as you look at the top of the screen, you can see, I believe that is the Juvenile Justice Center in Fairfax. And just beyond that is University Circle. But just south of this, to the right of this picture, would be where Burten Bell Carr's office is located. What's up next for the Opportunity Corridor? Project that is under construction as we speak is the Cleveland Police Headquarters. So the City of Cleveland felt in order to lay a strong foundation to attract companies that would provide jobs, that safety would be key. The city also was in need of consolidating and moving their current police headquarters to a new location, and they felt like the Opportunity Corridor was a great place for that to happen. So the police headquarters are under construction at the intersection of East 75th Street and the Opportunity Corridor. And this will be administrative headquarters. So there won't be zone cars shooting out of this when you call 911. They won't be coming from here. But a lot of the administrative and investigative work that the Cleveland Police Department has to handle will happen here. And it'll also serve as a community resource. There'll be a large green space for outdoor events as well as meeting space for indoor events. As we worked with the architects and the planning, they're saying people could host events here. I said, I don't know how sexy it'll be for someone to have an event at the police headquarters. We'll have to come up with a catchier name like CPHQ, and then folks won't think they're going to the police station. But those talks are still in negotiation, but we felt like safety was the foundation for the core job zone. Also planned up next for the Opportunity Corridor is the Cleveland Construction Training Institute. This will be located at East 79th Street and the Opportunity Corridor near Rawlings Avenue. And this project is being led by two construction professionals, older gentlemen, well experienced in the construction field. They're nearing retirement age, and they have been able to observe the challenges that the Cleveland construction industry has in developing a workforce pipeline, as well as the challenges that African Americans and other low-income populations face in getting into the construction industry. So this site will provide an opportunity for residents in the area and across the city of Cleveland to get trained in various construction trades. And this actually helps build a workforce where we can provide jobs in the core job zone right away, because as those buildings are being constructed, we'll be able to hire folks from this training institute to do that work. And so they should be breaking ground pretty soon on this site. Also planned up next for the Opportunity Corridor in Kinsman is a cold storage facility. And I know that doesn't sound as sexy and fun as some projects, but it really is going to be meeting a great need. You can see the Orlando Baking logo here. Orlando Baking Company is working in partnership with several other food manufacturers to develop a cold storage facility. Currently, Orlando Baking and other organizations rent cold storage from places as far away as Columbus. So that's money that's going out of our region. And there's a great demand for cold storage locally. And so this facility will be available for food manufacturers to rent or lease or purchase a portion to provide cold storage. And it complements what our long-term goals are for the Opportunity Corridor. So what we see for the future of the Opportunity Corridor in Kinsman is a food tech hub. So you heard me talk about the core job zone. What kinds of jobs, what industries should we focus on was a big question once we knew from the community that they wanted to see jobs. And so working with several community partners, you'll see them all on the next slide, we came up with the concept of a food tech hub. So the goal is to concentrate food manufacturing along the corridor, and it leverages existing food production in the area. Some of you may be familiar with Green City Growers Greenhouse, Orlando Baking, as I showed, Maselli's Dairy, which is on the southeastern end of the corridor, Ridall Green Partnership, which is just south of the site, and Pierre's Ice Cream actually isn't in the neighborhood, but it's not too far from the north, and that's just a few that are close by. The goal is to utilize the latest food technology and leverage it with tried and true manufacturing processes. And so this is how we look to provide jobs in the core job zone. But we also see it as an opportunity to improve food access, because all of this food production would be happening in a current food desert. And it's a part of a larger arts, innovation, and technology plan that we have for our service area. So here are some of the partners in the Food Tech Hub. The work is being led by the Fund for Our Economic Future. They have been phenomenal thought partners in this process as we identify what opportunities exist in the Opportunity Corridor. And they've been able to pull in folks like Gordon Premier from the Central Kitchen, Greater Cleveland Partnership, Team Neo, Jobs Ohio, to really start facilitating discussions around attracting those types of businesses. Kent State Urban Design Center is coming up with rendering so that we can have a visual and shop this around to potential folks who want to locate here. And of course, the City of Cleveland being the landowner, as well as other philanthropic and technical assistance partners. So we're really excited about that work. So that concludes my presentation. This is an aerial shot. Sorry, I'm working from home and there's high traffic right now. There's this aerial shot of Burten Carr's office with our solar panels on the top. Our office is located just south of the corridor, right in the heart of the Kinsman neighborhood. And that's where you can find me most days if we're not working remotely.
Great. Well, Joy and Denise, thank you so much for sharing the development that is underway in your neighborhoods. So we're going to move to some questions that have come in from our attendees. And this one is for both of you to respond to. How instrumental has the development of Opportunity Corridor been in the development that you discussed today and that you're seeing in your neighborhoods? What might still have developed without it, or was it the driving force behind this?
I'll go first, Joy, if you don't mind. Okay. So, yes, did Opportunity Corridor help catalyze the development in the neighborhood? Absolutely. It is, so I would say that it made people look at our area, especially the Innovation Square and New Economy area in a different way, and attract more opportunities for us. It definitely was very helpful in attracting the grocery store, because with grocery stores, there needs to be so much traffic and, you know, so many people within the area, within a mile radius have to have certain kind of degrees, all of that stuff. So yes, it definitely helped. It helped catalyze what we and speed up what we had planned to actually jump off the page and become reality. So yes, it did help. As projects develop, you know, we are getting more and more inquiries from all kind of developers, some of which we're interested in, some of which we're not. So, you know, we did that exercise too. What types of things would you like to see along the corridor in your neighborhood, and that actually helps the neighborhood and the people that live in the neighborhood, but also continues to be a catalyst for the whole 3.3 miles of the corridor. So yes.
Sorry, I was having trouble finding the unmute button. But yeah, I would agree. I think that, in this planning, that wasn't anything new. We knew people needed jobs that were entry level that could provide a living wage. But what the Opportunity Corridor provides is a concentrated land area where we could target those jobs, and allows us to just be strategic about creating all of those jobs in one physical space. So there's a lot of power in placemaking and saying, we're going to identify this particular part of the neighborhood and target resources and target certain types of activity there. And so the Opportunity Corridor really gave us a focal point to, how often do you get a brand new roadway built into your neighborhood? So it really gave us a focal point to sort of target our efforts to meet needs that we already kind of knew existed.
Denise, this question is for you. Going back to the conversation around creating some new streets that are coming off of East 105th, with those new streets, what's there currently, or what was there before the streets have been created?
Mm-hmm. So one of the streets, Frank Avenue, actually it's an alley right now on the west side of the street. It exists going east, but right now it's called Wayne Court, and it's an alley. It's just an alley. Hudson Avenue, that is south of that, does not exist today at all. It exists going east, but not west. And the reason we wanted those cut-through streets is because the blocks in Fairfax are very long, very long. And so there are informal cut-throughs all over the neighborhood. So while we're doing this project, we're like, we need to cut up these blocks to make it easier for people to walk and to get around, as opposed to having to walk from Quincy all the way up to Cedar if you live in the middle, yeah. So that was the impetus for the streets, a more walkable urban neighborhood. And we also have plans for those informal walkways exist all over the neighborhood. So our goal is to actually make them formal cut-throughs with grading or bricks, or however we figure that out. But yeah, the neighborhood, the blocks are ridiculously long. So yeah.
Joy, this question is for you. Do you know if the Construction Training Institute will include training for high school students interested in construction?
I'm not sure of the curriculum. I know that there's a opportunity directly out of high school, but they've talked about partnerships with CMSD, Max Hayes, and some of the other places. So I'm pretty sure that if that opportunity is presented, they'll take advantage of it. But I know that the spirit of the Institute is to get folks in young as possible, so that they can start their life out on the right path.
And so this question will be for the two of you. As you've listened to the residents throughout this development process, how do they feel about the development of Opportunity Corridor? And now that it's open, what have their experiences and thoughts been?
When the roadway was just conversation, we heard from some of the older residents, yeah, right, this will never happen. We've been talking about this since the 1960s, and this is not going to happen. And, so as we continue to march forward, I wasn't around then, but anyway, to have these conversations, some people were skeptical, very skeptical, because the idea of what the roadway would mean was scary to people. Because they didn't understand that yes, some people will be asked to relocate, but not whole neighborhoods. And, it's always, well, what is in it for us? How do we benefit? What's going to happen to us? So once we started the meetings in earnest, and people attended the meetings, that was really important. You had to attend to find out what was being planned. People got more comfortable with it. And as things started happening, And while the roadway was under construction, there was a large effort to actually connect residents that lived in all of the neighborhoods to the actual roadway construction. So we were part of that, so people were happy about that. And as I said, we've been master planning for a long time. So people now are, okay, well, you know, good things did happen. You know, we're getting a grocery store here and Joy's neighborhood, you know, they're getting a new police station. So people are okay with it. And it's, you know, people are always afraid of the unknown, but based on things that historically have happened, you know, people had doubts, don't blame them. And it was really important for us to advocate and make sure that the corridor didn't just become a pass-through road for people to get from 490 to University Circle, but actually there was benefit to the residents that live in the neighborhoods along the corridor.
And I'll just add, our experience is very similar. Same sort of sentiment, folks not believing it would happen. The segment of the Opportunity Corridor that comes through our neighborhood was just officially opened beginning of November. So we're just starting to see how and hear how residents feel about it. Fairfax was the first phase, so we've all been able to drive on that part of it. But one thing that Fairfax was able to do that was helpful, I think, for all of the neighborhoods around the corridor in that interim period, they had a focus on workforce development. And so they had staff that would come into all of the neighborhoods, and they would come into Kinsman and Central and work with people, as she said, to get them connected with construction jobs and any other jobs, just to start building the workforce's capacity as the Opportunity Corridor came along. So I think that also helped people see that, okay, they've got somebody here that's going to help me find that benefit for me, help me get a job, or help my grandson get a job. And that was, I really enjoyed that partnership with Fairfax. And I think the community got a lot of benefit from it too.
So you each shared some very exciting upcoming development. And so there's the curiosity of, what is the timeline for some of these projects to come online?
Okay, so for, well, the grocery store is actually under development. So the the bulldozers are out there right now. Our 82 unit apartment building, we expect to break ground in the next 30 to 45 days on that. The Canez homes, the single family homes, they're already underway, and actually already there's about 8 homes that have already sold in the Innovation Square footprint. Playwright Park is complete, as I said. The streets with the city, that schedule is that they will begin next year, and that all 3 projects, the grocery store, our building, and the streets, would all get done at around the same time. Over in the new economy area, we are acquisition is still happening over there. And so we're still planning over there. But you know, you have to get the land before you can do anything else. So, and as Joy said, that is a tedious process. And it takes time. So I really can't give a realistic date on when something might happen over there, as we're still in the acquisition planning phases of over there in that area. Yeah.
So for us, as I said, our section of the Opportunity Corridor was just recently completed, but the police headquarters are currently under construction, and both developers are anticipating for the cold storage and for the Construction Institute to break ground this year in 2022. And so the future planning that we talked about with the food tech hub is going on now. The planning is going on now. So that's a little bit further long term, but that's sort of where we are right now and what's in the immediate future.
So it is hard to believe that we have come right up on our timing. And I know that there are so many questions that we did not get to today. So if you both would be willing, I would love to be able to send you those questions. And if you could share some additional thoughts, I can then share that with all of the attendees today for additional follow-up. And we thank you both for sharing your insights into a project that clearly has a lot of excitement around it and a lot of questions. And I thank you for being able to help us better understand your experiences through the neighborhood lens. So thank you for being here today. And I'm going to turn it back to Marianne.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks so much, Denise and Joy. You clearly have a lot of fans of your work and a lot of support here for your work. Folks who are very eager to go out and be great ambassadors for you. So thanks for all the change that you're leading.